everybody. Welcome to TV Talk here on the Wojciech Experience. Haven't done one of these in a while, so let's get right into it. I want to talk about a documentary that I just watched over the last few nights on the History Channel called Washington. And now this documentary is all about, which you probably guessed, George Washington and how he was brought up, his time in the military, Revolutionary War, his time as President of the United States, and all that stuff. And I will say that this documentary was pretty dang good. I mean, I've seen other documentaries that had George Washington in it, where they talked about him and everything. But this one here actually taught me a few things that I really didn't know, and actually showed some perspectives that you just don't think about when you read about it in history books and in school, and maybe even some other documentaries don't really portray that much. And I will say the people who put this together at the History Channel, they did a pretty dang good job. The person that they got to play George Washington in the documentary itself bared a pretty good likeness to him. So that was impressive right there, at least I thought. And of course, it shows his time when he was actually a member of the British Armed Forces, the British Army, in the colonies, as they were called at the time. It showed that even though he was serving for the British, because he was somebody from the colonies, he could never really get commissioned as a British officer, which is what he really wanted. And in his early days, he strived to try to really impress his superiors, to see if maybe they could go around that little rule and grant him a commission. But of course, as time goes on and, different things happen, he gets kind of frustrated and, not really feeling it anymore. So he resigns and, goes back home for a while, until the French and Indian War starts kicking up, and he volunteers again, and during a conflict, his superior officer gets shot, and before he dies, he's like, "Hey, George, come here. You're in charge now." So, stupid watch. Anyway, so he ends up taking command of the troops, especially in the evacuation of that particular battle, because it did not go so well for them. And after a while, again, same thing happens, getting disillusioned, frustrated, everything. And so he ends up resigning again, goes back home to Virginia, marries Martha, and, kind of settled down there a little bit, and started his farming. Well, he was already a farmer, but I guess, now that he was back there, he was able to more take control of it and stuff. And the one thing that I did not know was that George Washington, had a little bit of wealth, but he was also very much in debt because of the way commerce was going those days in the colonies, where everything that you grow or try to sell or whatever first has to get shipped to England, and then those people make up their own prices and then get shipped back. It was kind of weird from what they were describing. I really didn't understand all of it, because I'm not, by no means, I am not a math genius or, or anything like that. But, and there goes my watch again. Jeez Louise. Always popular. And not by the people I'd like to be popular with. Anyway, so he starts thinking, well, how can I do this where I can make money where I don't have to go through all this. So he, starts expanding his farm and doing a few things inside the colonies where it didn't, have to go through the British and everything. And then, so that was something that I didn't know. And then, of course, when it was really starting to get down to the line, when things were really starting to happen, with the talk of, hey, let's revolt against the British, he, went down to the Continental Congress, and they pretty much said, hey, you're our guy. You're going to be in charge of all the troops. And so he, puts on the uniform again, but this time not the British uniform. And so that was pretty cool. Of course, seeing recreations of some of the battles, and especially the Hardships at Valley Forge, and all that. And also how his army, our army, the Patriot Army, was kind of like getting ready to mutiny and revolt against Washington too. Even though they all respected him and they thought he was, a great guy and everything. But because the whole war's taking place, not much money going around, the soldiers weren't getting paid, not enough food, people were dying from sickness and everything, especially in that brutal winter at Valley Forge. And, they want to try to, rise up, but Washington pretty much put that in their place. He actually would really brutal discipline some of his people. There was one instance in the documentary, it showed that one of the uprisers, the leader, they ended up executing him per Washington's orders. So yeah, he ran a pretty tight ship, and if you decided to kind of go on your own and go against him, he was not a happy camper. There was also a scene in the documentary where it showed some deserters got caught and brought back, and because the one never really, wasn't really such a bad guy, that it was his first time trying to do something like that, Washington showed some mercy on him. But the other guy, they strung him up and they legit hung him just because he deserted. So I guess that's one good way of keeping your people, with you. So that was pretty cool. And then, of course, it goes up to the Battle Yorktown and how, pretty much the strategy we used to win at Yorktown, which forced the British to surrender and everything. But it also shows when he gets elected president, it wasn't really an election. They're all like, hey, we all like George. He got us through the Revolutionary War. We won. He's our man. So here you go. You're president now. And it was something that he really did not really want. He wanted to retire, spend the rest of his days at Mount Vernon with Martha, the kids, and everything else. He wanted to be a farmer. He wanted to kick back, just be like, yep, I did that. But didn't really get a chance to because, he's president now. And of course, it shows some of the inner workings of the early days of the presidency, trying to figure it out, trying to see, does this work, does that work, and some of his early policies that weren't very popular with some people, especially with a tax that they put on whiskey, I believe it was. And of course, those taxes were put in place to help pay for the war effort and, get the new country up and going and everything. And of course, that wasn't popular. And of course, it showed some people, former, people of the Patriot Army coming up and, taking, geez Louise, I'm telling you. Like I said, which was popular with people other than just notifications. Anyway, so it shows that little skirmish of these ex-Patriot Army people, you know, taking the tax collectors and, you know, beating them up and you know, roughing them up because they didn't want to pay the tax. And of course, Washington kind of, I'd see this, I didn't know either. When he went to go squash this little rebellion, he actually put on his military uniform and went down and commanded that force himself to enforce the law of that tax. So that was something I didn't know. Like, I can't imagine any president of the United States going putting on a military uniform and going off to battle themselves. You know, I mean, I know the president, you know, it's a powerful position, and you know, and they command things, but they, you know, they're there in the situation room. They got advisors and generals and stuff that they coordinate with and stuff. But back then, not so much. I mean, but it was pretty fascinating. So I would highly recommend this documentary. It just, like I said, it just played on the History Channel. So it's probably on demand somewhere, on History on Demand, or I also know for a fact right now it's available on the History Channel's app that you can get from the App Store or Google Play, because that's how I watched part 3, because like I said, it was a 3-part miniseries. And I ended up watching part 3 using the History app on my phone, because I wasn't able to watch the 3rd part on the TV. So that was pretty cool. So I highly recommend that you look up this documentary, especially if you're really into finding out, you know, what Washington was all about. Maybe find out some new things you didn't know, looking at it from a different perspective and everything. So I would highly recommend Washington. And also, I will say that they advertised another documentary that's going to be coming soon. They didn't give a date or anything, but it's coming soon. It's a documentary, another 3-part documentary, kind of like Washington, but it's all about I have a hard time saying his name. Ulysses Grant. There you go. Get a little tongue-tied there. But that's going to be coming soon, and I'll probably review that too. But so anyway, that's my little take on the documentary of Washington. I hope you out there get to see it, or if you have seen it, I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comments about it, don't forget, you know, comment about it, you know, down below here. And so that's it pretty much for this video. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, the link is down here. Also, don't forget, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and give me a thumbs up and a like, and, you know, hit that bell and all that other good stuff to get this video out there. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye.